Yeah, I was just looking this up. Yeah, exactly. And it's set up. Which is fine.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then Dalton's still there. There.
Yeah, eight people maybe.
Yeah, there's eight. There's four lawyers and four they alternates. So
Okay, just in case.
yeah, well they'll right. It'll be like but they're right. Because we focus on him. It's that. No. See what yeah. Some some so it's okay, and so really frank. She's been around. You have theories that they it's done understandable. Coil does but on some nerves, hoping that they're working from home. Okay, very healthy. Milberger, uh, so and then the other two brought so and alternates. I don't. Sarah Hart is like a big alternate. She does. You know, very, all very, very. And so, yeah, don't go to the people. And I've had kids with boils, I don't know. Actually, no. Yeah, that was a county court judge that so he could ask any questions where I have to do the referral. Get provided and ask. It's common sense.
See,
You can go ahead and start the live stream.
Yeah, I mean, no, I was a little sad too. I was a little sad too.
I'll let everybody get situated and then we'll get going. Good morning, everyone. This is a public hearing of the Judicial Nominating Commission for the Supreme Court Second Judicial District. And the purpose of today's hearing is to interview applicants for the judicial vacancy created by the retirement of Justice Lindsay Miller Lerman. I'm Stephanie Stacy. I am the chair of this. The nominating commission is comprised of attorneys and citizens from the Supreme Court's Second Judicial District. There are members and 4 alternate attorney members who were 4 citizen members and 2 alternate citizen members who were appointed by the governor to serve on this commission. And at this time, I'm going to ask the members and alternates to introduce themselves. Here.
John Henderson.
Scott Carlson.
Alexis Mullaney.
Julie Frank.
Michael Coyle.
Wybonda Summers.
Ron Miltenberg. Dan Martin.
And then we'll start over here with the alternates.
Margaret Zarbano.
Sarah Hart.
Cameron Payne.
Michael Maloney.
Mike Faust.
Thanks, everybody. Notice of this hearing has been published. And we have received 2 applicants for the position who will be interviewed by the commission today. Patrick Guinan and Derek Vaughn, both are present. We will hear from both applicants today. Each will have 7 minutes to address the commission. This time limit includes any time used by someone whom the applicant invites to speak. My administrative assistant, Dawn, is right over here. She will notify the applicants when they have approximately 2 minutes of time left, so you know where you are in your presentation. After the applicant conclude their remarks, the commissioners will be given an opportunity to ask any questions they have. Once the commissioners finished with their questions, I will give anyone in the gallery an opportunity to express their views. If the applicant wishes to respond to that, they may do so either out here during the hearing or in a interview. That is up to them. Once all the presentations this morning are finished, I will close the public hearing portion of this meeting, and we will briefly recess as a commission to determine whether any private interviews will be conducted. I asked the applicants to stay in the courtroom for that portion. Do either of the applicants have any questions about how we're going to proceed?
I have no question.
Okay, any of the commissioners have any questions about how we're going to proceed? Take a break, get my attention. There's no magic to that. A quick recess for anyone's convenience, okay? All right. The order in which the applicants will address the commission has been randomly drawn, and we have the podium set up here in the witness stand, which is a little unusual, but that's the only place we could have you mic'd. I know, and standing. So right up here to the podium, if you will. Thank you, sir. You may proceed when you're ready.
Justice Stacy, members of the committee, good morning. My name is Pat Guinan. A bit about myself. I was born and raised in Omaha and lived most of my life in Omaha. My wife, Lisa, and I have been married for 28 years, and we're the proud parents of 3 grown children. I've practiced law for more than 30 years, primarily as a civil litigator. And in recent years, I've focused on alternative dispute resolution as an arbitrator and mediator. When I graduated from law school in 1993, I began my career in-house with a small local company. It didn't take long for me to real passion was in the courtroom, though. I joined the Douglas County Attorney's Office as a deputy county attorney on the civil side, defending the county and county officials in court, and counseling elected officials and administrative officers on their duties and responsibilities of their offices. After 3 years, I accepted a position at Erickson and Cedarstrom, where I became an associate, then a partner, and then ultimately a senior partner. I had the privilege of working with talented, disciplined, and professional attorneys, including my mentor, Tom Culhane, who taught me the important hard work and holding myself to the high standard, handling complex cases across Nebraska and beyond. I represented clients in high state multi-party over. I prepared more covering issues such as sovereign and qualified immunity, jurisdiction, standing, constitutional law, statutory construction, contract interpretation, fraud and misrepresentation, and tort liability. After 23 years, I decided it was time for a new challenge. I left E&S on excellent terms, still close to my colleagues there. I joined governmental law, where I represented county government, interlocal Risk Management Association, or NERMA. NERMA serves 85 of Nebraska's 93 counties, and through that work, I defended counties and counties across Nebraska in tort claims, Section 1983 claims, zoning and permit, and even cases involving election challenges and recently, I chose to open my own practice with arbitration and mediation practice. Working for NERMA, and when I left, they asked me to take a few cases with me, including an appeal currently before the 8th Circuit and another case that will soon be appealed on a sovereign immunity issue. The reason I applied for the Supreme Court vacancy is simple. I believe I'm built for this work. My great strength lies in analyzing and applying the law. I'm disciplined in my writing, and I'm committed to getting it right. I know I can do the work required of a justice, of diverse legal issues, and the opportunity to appear in courts across Nebraska representing clients from all walks of life. Important, a justice, not just residents of a particular district. It is those experiences appearing in courts across the state that have shaped both my legal judgment and my appreciation for the Nebraska judicial system. If given the opportunity, I would bring to the court the same diligence, fairness, and respect for the rule of law that have guided my career. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you, Mr. Guinan. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for this applicant? Why don't we again sort of start on this side of the room and work our way over, and we'll mix it up the next time.
Morning, I'm John. It's great to meet you, and I appreciate your opening statements. First of all, I just want to say, after reading through the application and through all the letters that were submitted, you have an incredible record, and you seem to be extremely qualified for this. So, I mean, congratulations on a great career.
Thank you.
I want to, as we look around, that are going around in our world, in our state, this is really a bigger question about the relationship between our legislative branch, our executive branches, and our judiciaries. I would be very interested in just maybe your perspective and your thoughts on those interrelationships, and maybe your thoughts about how you would adjudicate in that. And then some of this is just really about how you feel about maybe the independence of the judiciary.
Well, I believe that one of the core foundations of our entire government is the separation of powers. The judiciary needs to be separate. The legislature needs to be separate, and the executive branch needs to be able to do. I guess I am not a policy. Never wanted to be a policymaker. Some jurists who clearly have an agenda and think that some laws are wrong. I've never shared that view myself. I think the separation of powers, it mandates that you follow the law as written. How that plays out in national politics is I think a lot of it is, I would say, I think there's agendas on both sides of the people in the media to blow out of proportion. And so I can only speak to my personal experience. The vast majority of time I've been in front of any court, I believe that they get it right. Hard. The appellate process is there. So again, my an agenda will be unsettling for me. Too much in the legislature.
That's fair. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet.
So I'd echo Jason. Thank you for agreeing to put your application in and serve our state. So best of you on that. I'm more curious about what your comment was. You said you're built for this. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more and talk about the transitions from organized firm to your own firm, and maybe give us a little bit of more color on this decision?
Yeah, so my legal career has been, I've had a vast number of issues that I've litigated over the years. Like I said, and more listed in my resumes than anything. What I've found is where my true talent lies is my ability to take a complex issue, read the case law, figure out what's going on, argue with myself, roll it around in my brain a little bit, and try to figure out how that apply to these facts and how do the facts change that. My strength is my analysis of these issues. Over the years, I've gotten better. I've even gotten a little bit better at writing. Writing, I believe, is really my true talent. I try to convey the way I think in the simplest, most concise form. My way of thinking, the way I analyze things, is very precise. Right answer. Since with all of the appeals I've done, understanding appellate procedure, the complex issues I've dealt with, dealing with complex, has given me a foundation on a legal analysis level that I know that I can make the transition. In recent years, I have made a transition. I always thought that I'd be good at deciding issues. And on the personnel board, we arbitrate labor disputes. Well, not labor disputes, that's not correct. It's under the personnel rules, under union contracts, we arbitrate the grievances that parties may have. And in recent years, real activity on how you interpret these labor contracts. So although I'm not a labor attorney, at the end of the day, it dawned on me pretty early that track. And you have to figure out it. Pretty busy in arbitration, really. I've only doing it for 2 years, but already I'm appointed to 24 different arbitrations. I'm on a 3-judge panel next week where we're arbitrating a construction. We are never told about what the parties think. Case managers. one stat that they do give us in arbitration is they give you your strike rate. How many times has your resume been submitted to the parties, and how many times have you been selected as an arbitrator? And then they give you the median. All panels. That median for all arbitrations across all panels hovers around 12 to 13%, and my strike rate runs around about 32 to 35%. So that stat alone just tells me that that the case managers think I'm doing a job. They're giving my resume to multiple parties, and not just in Nebraska. I'm starting to get regional a little bit in my arbitration. So when I say I'm built for this, to go back to your original question, and I'm sorry for rambling on, that I can analyze, I can listen, and I can apply the law as written. And that's why I believe that I'm built for this litigation or for this position in the Supreme Court.
Appreciate that.
Good morning, Mr. Guinan.
Or-
After reviewing your resume, it looks like for a lot of your career, the majority of your career, you've represented corporate clients and had a lot of insurance defense experience. Do you think that experience has made you more sympathetic to a corporate party in litigation? And if so, how do you intend to push back on any sympathy that experience may have engendered in you?
No, that's a good question. And I would say first and foremost, I have a lot of personal injury case experience, personal injury on the plaintiff side. My biggest one was a $2.5 million settlement for some plaintiffs. I have a plaintiff's case right now where I just made a demand for policy limits on a UIM claim. I associate with, on my plaintiff stuff, I associate with an attorney named Danny Lev, who's a very fine young attorney. I wouldn't say that I'd had the personal injury experience. County governments, I insure a lot of county governments. But at the end of the day, I would have to say that you are representing an individual, and maybe it's a corporation, maybe a county level. You're still dealing with somebody on their emotional needs when they're involved in a litigation. You have to service what they want. Now, every client, as you may know, has their own desires and wants and anxieties and fears and whatever. And you're managing that all the time on an individual basis. As far as a pushback, I could say I've learned some valuable lessons, such as construction work, right? I've never met a contractor that was ever wrong. Every contractor out there is 100% right. Everybody else is wrong. And you go to the other side, they're 100% right. Everybody else is wrong. The owner's wrong. The independent contractor is wrong. The contractor is right. So I would say that I've learned my career how to manage individual people and how to, absorb some of their anxiety and stress, feel it when they're anxious. To help them. I want to alleviate that. So a county official side, it never failed on me that you're impacting somebody's life when you work with them on an individual basis, and decisions impact them. So I still like to drill it down to that level. On the pushback we're asking is, I don't have any sort of real deep sympathy for big business over this. I get close to my clients. I feel their stress, and I want to help them individually. And that could be in a corporate setting. It's a lot less emotional, right? You're dealing with a president of a company versus a sheriff's, a local county sheriff that's been sued, right? They take it personally. A county clerk that's been sued, they take it personally. So I hope I answered your question that way, that I don't really look at things as whole entities. I still drill it down to the individual person.
I think that answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have basically a follow-up question that she asked almost the same question. I was going to ask. From reviewing your history or your work experience, it doesn't appear that you have represented many individuals. You have had some PI experience and that is important, but it doesn't appear that you've represented anybody in a divorce or a family matter. It doesn't appear that you've represented anybody in a guardianship or probate matter, or even when you were at the county attorney's office, that you represented the state against a defendant or have represented a defendant. I do mostly that kind of work. And so I want to know what personal and legal experience representing the individuals, not the person who represents the company, because that's not the same being involved in a divorce. Not the person who represents the company who may be charged with some legal malfeasance, or but the individual themselves whose freedom is on the line. What experience do you have? And there are I want to know what to people who are in the system by themselves, even if they have a lawyer.
Well, no, right now I'm helping a young lady through a child support modification. Just a friend I've met over the years. She and her ex-husband are in a dispute, and there's a big modification going on. And I'm trying to assist as best I can. Am I a family law attorney? I'm not, right? I haven't spent a whole lot of time doing that. I have not been a guardian, but I can tell you that we fostered. I can tell you the biggest, most meaningful event of my life was when my wife and I fostered a little 5-month-old baby, and being on the other side of the bar, as it were, and having to go through that. It was meaningful to me. It wouldn't be meaningful to everybody, but it was meaningful to me because they came to us to help. We fostered the child. I wanted to make all to see who would best. I wanted an attorney that was going to be on the juvenile side, that was going to be a facilitator. I didn't want to go in a big fight with the prosecutors. I knew mom wasn't the problem. Everybody knew mom was not the problem. I wanted to get to a point where we could get the baby back to mom. So I got the name of a really good attorney who was a very how do we go through this process? Help us out. We went through the process. He told us what mom needed to do as far as parenting classes, as far as the psychological test, the drug test, all those different things. And frankly, I cared so much, I paid for all of it. And when it came time to the point where the prosecutor to testify, they're still going to go for termination, even though they knew she's not the problem. We eventually got that worked out. They hired an attorney to get the custody order, the paternity order, and got full custody, full everything for mom. So in that sense, yes, I was very personally involved in that situation. I guess the way we worked it out, the way it ended up going through the whole deal, our attorney said that we got the baby back after 5 months, and our attorney said, but these type of injuries to the baby, he'd never seen a baby be returned to mom that quickly. So yes, I mean, it was something I was personally vested in, that it meant a lot to me, obviously it meant a lot more to mom. But today now I see this, this 13-year-old stud, he's running around just happy as a clam in a junior high. We're with mom, if not every week, every other week, we see the family. I mean, we're still very close. So I haven't done, and there's no that's done everything before they hit the bench. But if you want to personal, being on that side of the equation, or that side of the bar, the deal, I believe that experience has been one of the most eye-opening, personally satisfying. Again, I don't have experience in every area of the law. I don't know that any jurist ever does, though, before they get on the bench.
Thank you.
Yes.
First of all, again, thank you for your commitment to public service and your interest in serving our great state. It's so important. People here, thank you for your interest in. I have for you is obviously we're both trial lawyers, and in fairness, and I have litigated cases in the past. Is that correct?
Correct.
And who are spending their whole professional career as an advocate. You're very competitive, as you should be, as a trial lawyer. Do you think it's going to be difficult for you to no longer meaningful, fair decisions in, you know, and that's the question that I've always struggled with, and I'm really curious as to your opinion as to whether you're going to be able to make that transition.
Yeah, I guess I argue I have in a way. I mean, the personnel board is it's a voluntary position. It's appointed by the governor, and you have to be confirmed by the legislature. And we have to make decisions based on contract interpretation. And so that's kind of one example. The other example is just in recent years when I've gone to arbitration. I knew that I could be a decision maker. I knew that I could incorporate both sides' arguments. It's nothing new to me on some. Understand case and how to apply that. I guess I would say that I don't have a dealing with attorneys as the arbiter. So controlling my hearing, right? I haven't had that problem controlling it, and I am open-minded. I make sure that I don't prejudge things. I don't actually look at exhibits afterward. It escaped me that those people, I'm going to impact somebody's life somehow, some way with a decision, either for or against them. It's going to impact those people. And I make a point, even though I have to just check a box yes or no, I write it out. You have to know what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. And that's the reason I don't get paid extra for doing it. I get a set fee, but I do it anyways. I think it's important to be able to explain to somebody why it doesn't work out for them.
So, well, career. But why now? Why do you want to be a judge now? Why would you like to go on the Nebraska Supreme Court?
I don't. What?
27 years.
Once every 27 years, right? So, I mean, the intent was. We're starting to progress with my arbitration. Answer actually busy. I got lucky with I wouldn't say lucky. Unfortunately, there was an attorney that passed away here in closing that. Whatever low needs I had, but I helped resolve. It just became apparent to me that I can do this by myself. I've got it set up in a way that I can do this work. I'll keep myself busy. I'll keep the lights on at home. I'll still gotten to that point where I know that I can do this. If this would have opened up 5 years ago, I would have applied 5 years ago. If it would have opened up 2 years from now, where I knew I wanted to do it, because this is the kind of work I really enjoy. I enjoy the and figure out and put that puzzle together and right. So remember,
Well, the other question, follow up on what, as a, do you, um, do you have experience? I mean, point about people's liberty, people's lives. Do you feel you're going to be behind the eight ball, or how do you perceive your ability to rule on what I see as the most difficult work that I see down at Lincoln is people's liberty and in some cases people's lives? Do you see any problem in being able to catch up with that as far as your professional experience is concerned?
well, I would say that criminal law is constitutional law. I mean, it's one and the same. I've probably in my career defended and all those claims involve some Amendment, Fifth Amendment, or Eighth Amendment, right? Those are the ones that are there. I have to go into that same case law and decide or figure out what's the cause of action, what's the burden of proof, what's the standard. And in my particular case, when I'm defending government officials, the individuals, I have to figure out the qualified immunity issues. And so it's going to be different. Is it an initial violation of the established law for most individual government defendants? But when you have a situation with, let's say, a county deputy, the part of the analysis is, was there probable cause for the arrest or for the takedown, right? Because if probable cause is also part of the underlying claim, then the affirmative defense, that's a third element that usually gets put into the affirmative defense of qualified immunity. So, right, I have not defended, well, I shouldn't say that. I have defended people in county court, in small criminal matters, and reckless driving claims, those type of things. I'd like to say I've convicted more people than prosecutors when I've defended them, but so I know the uphill battle that the criminals face on that, and justified or not, it's an uphill battle, right? But I can tell you that I understand enough. Am I an expert at constitutional law? I'm not, but can I understand the basis? Can I figure it out? Have I found the case law? Have I read it? I have read all those cases, and I have a foundation to spring off of.
And you feel like that with that background, you should be able to get up to speed quickly on those matters.
I do.
Okay. Mr. Cannon, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I echo my colleagues. Thank you for applying. I know that this is not easy to kind of put yourself out there in this way, but I appreciate you being willing to serve the state of Nebraska. I do have a few questions.
Yes.
So you've kind of talked to or kind of given us an idea of what you do as a mediator and arbitrator. Are you still in the practice of writing as much as you were when you were an appellate attorney? Or is it just like you said, kind of the check in the box?
No. I write my arbitration decisions. I don't go the easy route and just say who wins and loses. So I write that. As I said, I have 2 appeals. Well, I have 1 appeal on the 8th Circuit right now. I'm just finishing up, and I also have one that is going to be appealed once we take deposition. There's going to be summary judgments that are filed on the sovereign immunity issue, and that's going to go one way or the other. If county loses, we're appealing because we can have that right now under the final order statute. If they lose, the plaintiff loses, they're going to appeal, and so the sovereign immunity issue is going to be decided. So writing is still the foundation of my career, of what I do, and frankly what I'm best at, or I feel like I'm best at. My writing sample to you there was just something I wrote, I don't know, months ago. And that isn't the only personnel decision that I've written. Personnel board, we have a great board. We're very, very congenial. We work well together. But I'm the only lawyer. So when it comes time to deciding issues, especially the contract interpretation, all eyes are on me. And I take it very seriously. And I can tell you, if you've ever read a labor contract, they are so circular because they don't renegotiate the contract. They renegotiate a little provision, and all of a sudden that becomes a major conflict with another provision, which becomes a major conflict with another provision, and it just becomes this real big circle that you have to navigate. So my analytical skills have not deteriorated at all. In fact, I feel like I've gotten better because now that I have the responsibility of deciding, I would say this one other thing is with my arbitration awards, they're appeal from them, right? This is it. You win or lose, and there's nobody above me that's checked my math or anything. So I write to get right. And so my writing skills, I think now that I've become kind of a decision maker, I think have just actually gotten better.
Okay, thank you. So in your practice now, or when you were an appellate attorney, were you in the practice of mentoring attorneys that were beneath you or under you, your subordinate? And then how were you in receiving mentorship from attorneys who were kind of teaching you the ropes and how to appellate right? What was your style working with those two different dynamics?
Right. No, a lot of it obviously is personality. I will tell you that Tom Culhane is one of the best lawyers that I've ever opportunity to work for him for 23 years. First as an associate, then as a partner, and ultimately as a senior partner with him. Tom has a level of professionalism that I just don't see anywhere, and has a demand to become. You're never perfect, but you strive for perfection. And so we've worked on a lot of cases together, and he really just taught me a whole nother level of what it means to be a lawyer and how much you have to drill down even further. You don't accept the other person's narrative, right? You figure out if that's right or not. You go down, how do I counter that? What do I do for my best interest of my client? So as far as being mentored, I don't know that I don't, if you have had a better mentorship than Tom Culhane. Now, I've had some younger attorneys that have, I guess, at least I've been told I've been their mentor, and I take that as a real compliment. Some attorneys that are just, there's one attorney, he's just excellent. He and I just saw eye to eye. We thought the same way. He obviously lacked the experience, but I gave him, we would go down to hearings. I'd give him the file. You argue this. I think you need to argue that. Like everybody else, when you're an attorney, you have to flounder for a while and you have to answer tough questions. And it's hard. You want to know everything, but when you get older and you get through that, you learn, I don't know everything, but I can find the answer. So there have been a lot of young attorneys that I've tried to help, but it doesn't click. So a lot of it's just personality for me. When it clicks, you're there, you're working. And it's as much as how they see you work as opposed to you saying, here's what you do, right? The couple attorneys I'm thinking of, they saw how I worked with them as much as I could. The unfortunate part is they were so good, I couldn't get time with them. I'd have to schedule a day or two out just to talk to them. They were just really busy. But they appreciated the way I handled things, which is very similar to how Tom Culhane handles things. So I feel like I've passed it down. Now that I'm on my own, obviously I don't have anybody to mentor. But I believe I have mentored and think some real quality attorneys.
Okay, thank you. So my colleagues have brought up that you don't have a lot of criminal experience, and I agree with you that you can't get experience in everything because the law is so vast. So my question is what resources or who will be your resources to give you perspective when you are dealing with potential criminal or juvenile cases that may be a first impression for you because that just wasn't what you decided to do in your practice? Do you have the resources or the people to tap into for that perspective?
Well, here's the way I view it. If I'm given the opportunity to be on the Supreme Court justice, as a Supreme Court justice, obviously the major resources, the 6 very smart people that have gone through this, that know these things. My feeling of the court is they want to get it right. They work together to come up with the right answer, or at least the answer that needs to be answered. The answer to the question that's being asked at that particular time. So obviously the very first resource is 6 other justices. But I would not discount my ability to get into a case, a complex issue, because I've had plenty of complex issues that you have to read a case, and then you have another case that seems to be contradictory to that, and then you might have another case. Somehow you have to find that line, that path, because unless you do that reading, unless you focus on those issues and how it goes through, it doesn't resonate in your own mind. And if it doesn't resonate, at least in me, if it doesn't resonate in my mind, I can't write it. I have to figure it out. I don't want people telling me the answer. I want guidance. I want help. And when I write something, I want somebody looking at it. You know, I give my writings to people all the time. What I say is, I want to know my blind spots. What am I missing? Where am I going? Is there anything that doesn't make any sense? Have I gone down a rabbit hole? So I'm not self-centered so like that to think that I have all the answers, that I know everything, that I can write everything. But I can find the answers. I work very well with all my colleagues. I always have. I believe I'm a very easy person to work with. I ask questions. I am inquisitive. And at the end of the day, I want to go out there and just, swing and miss. Court would obviously be the 6 smart people.
Being a justice is serving the community. We've talked a lot about what you've done professionally, but I'm curious, what is something that you enjoy service-wise that you get to this community? And maybe talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I'm on the Mercy High School board right now. We're in the middle of a 3-year strategic plan, trying to figure out the most important things. How do we raise academics? How to raise ACT scores? And how do we get more people there? Because Mercy's such a small school, and it's always in need of more money, more resources. So we're doing that. That's my primary community service. I would say the State Personnel Board is also, because it's a volunteer job. I'm not getting paid for any of that, but it's a service. It's a service to the state. It's public service in that sense. Those would be the 2, I guess, most outward facing ones that I do. I would say it's a lot of little things that I do for people, people that can't afford an attorney, but know me and know they can approach me and know that I just help them out, give them advice on something, help them make a decision. So that's not necessarily reaching out like, building homes or working at the food bank or anything like that. But I believe because I know a lot of people in a lot of different walks of life, and I'm friends with a lot of people, or at least approachable, I guess, more than anything. And so I get approached all the time. Just this one, I'm helping with this young lady on a child support issue, right? She knows she can talk to me, and I'm helping her out the best I can, because I know that she can't afford to pay $1,000 to an attorney to do that. I have a lot of resources in that regard. I know law. I know a lot of people that do criminal law, and I ask them questions. How do I do this? Here's what I got. What do I need to do to help the person out? So in that sense, the little things that aren't on my resume, and that I really can't even describe all the little things I do for people, but I believe that I'm a very approachable person, and I honestly want to help. I want to help when I can. If it's way above me, if it's over my head, I'm not arrogant enough to think that I can still do it. And I get them to the right people, the right resources. And I hope that answers your question.
That did. Thank you.
Yes.
Like my peers, I want to start off by thanking you for stepping forward. I also want to thank you for your foster care work that you mentioned.
Thank you.
We're 4 years into that family.
Oh.
And if anybody understands liberties and how to deal with people and contributing to society, it's through foster care.
Yes.
So I have probably a simple question. You mentioned your current private practice.
Yes.
If you were asked to serve as a court, what's your plans for business? Are you a single operator, or do you have other employees, or how are you going to set that aside, or what's your plan there?
Right now, I'm a single operator. when I put the wheels in motion to my own, it was, basically an 8-month plan. Well, I mean, it was about a 5-month plan, but it took another 3 months to help get a replacement for me at my prior job. I helped recruit a replacement. I helped get somebody there to take over my cases. And when she got there, I helped her get up to speed on all her cases. And so I've only been in this now 3 months as an individual operator. My AAA stuff's gotten through the American Arbitration Association. So my AAA stuff, it would be getting another arbitrator in place, but that's a case manager's situation. And they're very good at it. In fact, the one I have next week for the arbitration, I just got called up at the beginning of the week asking if I could do it. And yes, okay, there you go. So arbitration is a lot different. You don't have these ongoing discovery battles. You don't have these fights. You have a couple status conferences. The parties are supposed to be working together. The hearings are very quick. You have your hearing. There might be some written statements before or after or whatever, but the cases I have are far enough out. December, January, February, and March are my next 4 hearings. Case managers would be able to find somebody to take over that, because you're not limited to just Nebraska, right? You can find anybody in the region. My corporate clients, I know several attorneys that I could ask to take over that work. So it wouldn't be hard for me to transition. I guess I would put it, I have a very solid core business that I know I can grow over the years. But at this point in time, it would not be that difficult to turn over if I were given the opportunity, lucky enough to have it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your application. I don't have any questions for you there.
Okay, thank you. Right here.
I don't have any questions. I think my colleagues did a great job in asking all the questions that I would have asked you, but thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll move to the back row.
No questions for me.
Okay,
Stand and ask my question.
sure.
I want to hear about your hard case. Tell me what it was, how you navigated, approached it to get to the outcome, whatever it may have been in that hardest case.
Oh, yeah, that was the one that went for 10 years and 2 jury trials, 2 3-week jury trials. And at any given period of time, there was 10 of us in a courtroom. This particular litigation, a lot of out-of-state attorneys, extremely difficult to deal with. The other side, that you used to just be able to do your discovery, you get to trial, you have your jury trial, you go. Now, discovery's been weaponized. People want to play games. They want to get you in front of the judge. They want to play gotcha. They want to do some of the most, I think, unprofessional things in the world and then turn around to the judge. Right? So, I mean, that was all of that case, and it went on for 10 years. I took a picture at the end of it. It was, I think there was 35 boxes of documents. I navigated it is the same way I handle any sort of relationship. You have to size a person up, right? And you have to know what like they're acting. But you also have to be confident knowing that, hey, look, I know where the real path is. I know where it's going to go. So all of this, and over all the jury trials that we had, at the end of the day, I knew the way I viewed the case. I knew the path that I had was the right one. Ended up being mostly just co-counsel, because he liked going chasing, and he liked yelling at people, and he liked fights. And I'm like, that's not the way I operate. I don't do it that way. I go here. I want to be logical to the basic elements. So I was successful in getting him. Maybe I had to yell at him a couple of times. Maybe I had to get in his. I got him on the path, and we were able to work together and come to the solution. It was one of those things. The only way it was going to be resolved was with 2 3-week jury trials. We had those a year apart. And then on the appeal itself, it was, we won. And then he wanted to do this big cross appeal and say why everything was wrong. And I had to get the guy back on script again. And that's eventually how I did it. I wish I could spend an hour explaining the case and why it was so difficult and why the personalities are so large. And they were just trying to one up each other the whole time. But that the way I was seeing it, the way I was viewing it was going to be the way that would make the most sense to a jury. And I knew that way was going to have to make it hard. I always try to bring it back to most of the time I can work with people pretty cordially and I can discuss things logically. But when somebody's as obstinate as my co-counsel was, that happened on several occasions.
Yeah, I'll ask a question. There's been two key phrases today, I believe. One is that I was built for this. The other was it was always part of the plan in response to Mr. Coyle. My question is, what was there over all those years that appealed to you professionally, personally, psychic rewards, if you will, of fulfilling
courtrooms. I've seen a lot of different personalities, a lot of different styles. I knew from my experience what I've done. I knew I could do the same job. I knew that my biggest strength was analyzing cases and applying the law to the facts. Knowing deep inside that I can decide things. It's not that I don't feel bad for the people I don't rule in favor of. It's just I know I can make that decision. And I just fortunate enough to get them, but I applied for it in the past because I just know my calling. I know that's what my highest and best use is. How do I know that? It just comes from 30 years of legal experience, of being in a bunch of different courts, seeing how different judges handle different things, how different dockets work in different courts. But it's no different than why do I know I love my children? I do, I just know I do, and I can't explain it. But I know deep down that this is something I'm meant to do. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it, and if I don't get it, that's fine. I've made my path otherwise. But that's all I can say is just through my experience, everything I've done, all the courtrooms I've been in, all the trials I've been in, everything I've done, just tells me I'm built for this. I know how to do this. My writing skills, I believe, are as good as most attorneys, better than a lot. And my ability to sit there and analyze and think and not give up until it feels right, until I know it's right, and so I can write it. That's the part I enjoy the most about the law, the esoteric of it.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the gallery who, let me, we're done with the questions from the commissioner. You may take a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the gallery who wishes to provide any input on this applicant? Hearing none, I got a hand signal from a commissioner asking for a break, and we will take a 5-minute recess. And when we return, we will hear from the next applicant. We will be in recess for 5 minutes. I don't know exactly what that does with the live stream, but I assume that everyone will simply stay tuned in, and we will just be back here in 5 minutes. Thank you.
The only observer. I just want to say hello. No, so. Yes.
I just want to see what
Thank you, James.
Everybody situated? All right. We will resume the public hearing. Judge Vaughn, you may approach and you may address the commission. Sorry, it's such a long walk.
I've had many jury trials in this courtroom, so. And there may be still some of my probate notes up there. So, all right. Justice Stacy and members of the nominating commission, good morning. I am honored and humbled to be here this morning. This is a very important day for me. I will respectfully present that I will bring a unique perspective and experience as a justice to the Nebraska Supreme Court. Before we start our conversation, I'd like to introduce my lovely wife, Jacqueline Vaughn. We've been together for over 22 years, and she is my rock. We are blessed with two wonderful children. I grew up in Omaha, and I proudly graduated from Creighton Prep in 1992. I received my undergraduate and law degrees from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. I've been active in our local community as well as within the state. I'm proud to say that the Nebraska Supreme Court has appointed me to 4 separate committees. I was appointed to the Nebraska Supreme Court Committee on Problem Solving Courts, the Nebraska Supreme Court Access to that Judge Stacy is the chairperson over, the Nebraska Civil Justice Reform Working Group, and the Nebraska Supreme Court's Exhibits Work Group. I was an active member of Creighton Prep's Board of Trustees, and I am a member of the State Bar Association's House of Delegates and the Robert M. Spires in the coordinator for the annual Wild Game Feast and Golden Acres Fish Fry at Zion Baptist Church. Why do I want to be a Nebraska Supreme Court Justice? Why is this important to me? I want to expand my service to the citizens of not only Douglas County, but to the state of Nebraska. I am currently a Douglas County District Court judge. I believe I have a great collaborative relationship with all my fellow judges. Based on my last Nebraska State Bar Association judicial evaluation results, I'm humbled and honored that 98.8% of the lawyers believe I should be retained in office. I believe if you talk to the litigants and lawyers, my opinions and decisions are fact-based, researched, and consistent. And I have a number of orders to my application to provide with the flavor of my writing. I have written hundreds of orders, and I believe my opinions have not been a surprise to the lawyers or litigants. With that being said, I believe I possess the character, integrity, common sense, and good judgment to be a Nebraska Supreme Court Justice. I started in the Douglas County Attorney's Office in 1999, where I was assigned to various felony trial units in the Civil Division. I've handled multiple jury trials, dozens of different types of motions, and multiple bench trials. I've also handled litigation actions and tort claims. I've handled civil service with the adult drug court, young adult court program, and mental health diversion. I was entrusted with this awesome responsibility to give eligible individuals a second chance. I handled thousands of cases, and that has provided me with a unique perspective. I took that unique perspective and put it to work as a Douglas County Court judge from 2013 into 2023. As a Douglas County Court judge, I handled over 3,000 cases, which are primarily consisted of criminal, civil, and probate matters. From the county court, I was appointed to the Douglas County District Court in 2023, where I now remain. I handle a wide variety of cases, from family law and civil matters to first-degree murder cases. For example, when I preside over a family law matter and children are involved, decisions need to be based on the best interests of the children. I look at family law cases individually, as every set of facts are different. This is similar to how I used to approach contested probate matters and in the county court. As those are fact-based, and like family law, there are statutes and case law to guide a judge. Another example of more complex cases that I preside over are medical malpractice cases. I had to educate myself on those types of cases. I have reached out and have been mentored by fellow district court judges. The lawyers that handle these types of cases are outstanding, and they have been more than gracious in providing case law when requested to assist me. I've attended education seminars that have provided a viable and necessary foundation to effectively handle these cases. For those who do not handle medical malpractice cases, the burden is on the plaintiff to show a recognized standard of care. There was a deviation of that standard of care by the defendant, and the deviation was the proximate cause of the injuries alleged by the plaintiff. Between the county and district courts, I've handled thousands of criminal and civil cases, which includes various different types of motions. I've handled dozens of domestic and probate cases and trials. I've handled multiple jury trials. I've handled dozens, probably thousands of bench trials to include civil, criminal, probate, and domestic types of matters. I've handled a number of appeals from the Douglas County Court and issued orders to that effect. Appeals from the county court are reviewed for errors appearing on the record, which means the review is whether the decision conforms with the law, is supported by competent evidence, and the decision is never arbitrary, capricious, nor unreasonable. However, when reviews for errors on the record include questions of law or equity, the review is by de novo, meaning from the beginning or new. A de novo review is where the appellate court reviews and reappraises the evidence in the record to reach its own independent conclusions. The appellate court does not ignore findings of fact made by a lower court. The appellate court may give weight to lower means when evidence is in dispute. I'm very proud to say that I'm one of the presiding judges for the Adult Drug Court Program. It was a full circle moment for me. I was one of the deputy county attorneys assigned to the drug court, and now I'm honored, humbled to be involved in a court that's helping people help themselves. I'm aware and prepared to make decisions that may be unpopular. I have close to 12 years as a Douglas County and District Court judge. I have taken an oath to follow the federal and state constitution and follow the law. My personal beliefs are not relevant. I constantly reflect on my day and how I can improve. I have made decisions that have kept me up at night, as I know my decisions impact others. I would never forget that on the Nebraska Supreme Court.
2 minutes.
Judges are here for the people. I care about all litigants in all cases. I care about the attorneys who have to practice for the courts. The attorneys have a job to do. The attorneys have a job to do as well. We all need to work together. As a judge may demand respect, I feel a judge needs to respect the attorneys and the litigants. I believe a great judge is someone who listens, has no personal agenda, and is fair. I think a great judge is someone who sees all parties as human beings. The judge understands that their decisions affect people's lives and is sensitive to that great responsibility. You can learn the law, but temperament. I have a lot of energy and enthusiasm. I feel with all my experiences, I have a very well-developed sense of fair play and justice. I respectfully asking that my name be forwarded to the governor as candidate for justice of the Nebraska Supreme Court for 2. This is kind of a full circle moment for me because today would have been my dad's 81st birthday. And so he's been passed away for 9 years. And so he would normally have been with me here today. So I'm a little emotional because my mom was not able to come because it's a difficult day for her. But I'm honored to be amongst everyone that's here today. As I said, to 2 different nominating committees make you proud. I thank you for your time and your attention. And does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any question? So we'll start in the back row and work our way around. Thank you.
Judge Vaughn, I'm going to ask Mr. Guy, tell me about your hardest decision that you've had to make in your time as a judge, and explain to us how you approached resolving that question to reach the decision.
I think with the orders that I've applied or that are part of your packet, that was giving you at least a flavor as to how I analyze first-degree murder cases. And there's a motion to eliminate order that I've applied. And different motions that came too much because that's currently on appeal right now. But it was it was, I haven't did a first degree murder case until I was in the, when, last time I did first degree murder case was when I was in the county attorney's office. So in the county courts, we will hear the preliminary hearings, but we don't deal the trials. And so I felt that in terms of that first degree murder, you know, a lot of research, took a lot of time. And I thought the attorneys that tried that case did an outstanding job with presenting information to me. Also, I think another case, particularly I think they're really interesting, but they're difficult cases are medical malpractice cases. Because you have doctors. Oftentimes you have competing doctors that are in, and the lawyers that try those types of cases are outstanding. And so I think at least how I approach those cases is I don't make a lot of decisions right there from the bench. Matter of fact, we had a trial when I was in the county court on a restitution case. This was probably 5 or 6 years ago that you actually won, but we had a case and presented people who present their case should have judges that take the time to review the documents. If I have a stack of documents, there's no way that I could review a stack of documents in that time in the courtroom. So I tend to take a lot of cases under advisement, and I go back to my office, the research, and I write an order. So these for me, my mouth's getting dry, so I apologize. Hopefully you can understand me. At least for me, and every case that they bring is important to them. And I think it's important as at least what practice as a judge is I don't fuss at folks. Be my people. I'm calm, even keel, because I don't live in their shoes. I don't know what they have gone to in order to get to court. And so, but I think in terms of difficult cases, I think some of your murder cases, some of your more difficult, complex civil cases. And so again, my practice is all the same. It is bring them in, research the law, and my orders that you see as part of the packet are based on facts, and my orders are consistent. If you go across the room and look at all my orders, they're pretty consistent in how I set up my cases, how I do my orders. And so, and that's something that won't change. And so I thank you for the question, and I won't, even if it's not forward or I'm still get appointed to the Nebraska Supreme Court, I'm honored to be on the district court bench. This is a fantastic district court bench. They work hard, and we also appreciate lawyers and the litigants in this room. A lot of them who practice in the courts, a lot of them who may be litigants in the courts, or have friends that are in the courts, or people that's interested in the court system. I appreciate everyone that's in this room, as well as people that are listening as well. Thank you, Mr. Maloney. Can my wife bring my water? My mouth is getting dry.
Yeah,
I get dry. So,
we all do.
yeah. So, well, thank you. While I'm on the bench, I always have a cup of water with me. And so,
Next question.
I have a couple questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Is I noticed in the materials that you have a reputation for running a very efficient courtroom. What is your personal secret for keeping the trains running on time?
I think with me is in the district court, we normally get cases within every 15 minutes. And you have to be firm, fair, and consistent. Just like people that run a business, people who are lawyers, you're firm, fair, and you're consistent, and have meaningful deadlines. And with me, I'm not a person, I just got my district court evaluation of we keep monthly case stats. I had one of the lowest case stats. And I took over from Judge Coffey, and there was a lot of older cases that needed to be resolved. I just started setting for trial, pre-trial them, bring the attorneys in, and we just start setting them for trial. And oftentimes, once people start talking and start getting together, we can get things resolved. And so for me is, the attorneys have a job to do. And I always use this concept where a lot of the people I call trailblazers that I was growing up, they always tell you, don't forget where you came from. When I was a lawyer, I remember those days where I'm doing my best to try to get cases resolved. And so we just set the cases and we just move them. And the attorneys that I see, they know I'm prepared, I'm ready to go. If you need more time, you need more time. But again, fair, firm, and consistent guidelines.
A completely different question. I think you and I share a challenge in that I suspect both of us are asked to serve on boards, committees, volunteer activities more than we could ever possibly say yes to. I have to say no a lot, and I'm sure you do too. How have you advertised what you're doing?
Well, the annual wild game fair, I'm 51. My father started that, so our 45th year, and that is something that it's a family, it's a private event. And we have people that come in. It doesn't cost people, and we have a lot of support from law enforcement, from the county attorneys, from Sheriff Hansen just comes and puts a robe on and starts serving. And so we have a lot of people come in there, and that is something that is important to me, as that's legacy. That is something that my father started. That's something that a bunch of buddies who are alive, and they're in their 70s and 80s. And I'm the youngest guy on the group. And so we get plenty, they still hunt, so we get plenty of deer. And years ago, we used to cut that up ourselves. We would go to a church and we used to process that. We have 5 or 6 deers, and it took us 2 days to process that. After my dad passed away, I'm like, I'm done coming to Sound Like Blood. I'm done. It's a wrap. And so we now take it to a butcher. And so, but they don't do everything, because I think it's important for the group of men that are involved in this to get together. And so instead of being a 2-day event, we're just doing more cutting for, we have stroganoff, we have deer meatloaf, we have pheasant nuggets and turkey nuggets. And it's free. And we have a lot of people, and it's always last Friday in January, and will always be that way. And so for me, and that's also my wife, my family, my mom, we're all involved in that. So that's familyness. So that's very important for me. Another thing is we do a wild game, we do a fish fry. That's generally for individuals that are 60 and over, and we provide, and we serve them, and we provide them fish, and it's no cost. We'll go out and buy the fish, or we'll go catch the fish, and we'll have spaghetti, and then we have bingo, and we have good prizes. People donate and donate and donate. To me, and it's at Zion Baptist Church. It's the church I grew up in North Omaha, and that's my heart. These are the same people as I was, and so they saw more in me than I saw in myself. And so those are the trailblazers. Now they're in their 80s and 90s. I always believe that's important to give back. And so I'm also involved in some other faith-based type of activities. But when I look at things for me is things that I believe can make the community better. I have a child, and I think it's important. And I think it's important for kids to have the parents in the home. And so I spend a lot of time with me and my son every weekend. We're up taking care of the lawn. He just likes to go out to eat afterwards, because when I was growing up, my dad would say, well, you're getting food in the house long for. And so I think it's just important to get back to your question is, you can't be everything to everyone, and you got to prioritize what you feel is important. And that's what I've always, through the years, I was much more busy in terms of things I was doing. But as my kids got older, I felt it was more important for me to be home and spend time with them. And so a lot of things that I do now are more towards passions of mine.
Let's move to the front row.
Hi, Judge. Good morning.
Good morning.
Based on your packet, it seems like you have a lot of support from the county and district court benches. Do you have you had them with county court judges, and how do you handle those disagreements? And to follow that up, if you see any potential disagreements you may have with other justices, you use the same approach.
I would say that people who know me, I'm probably the most even keel person. I don't have, I can honestly say I have not had any disagreements with the county or district court, with any county or district court judge. How I look at it like this, that people are entitled to their opinions. People are entitled to their beliefs. And what I try to do is in county court, you have to work more together because of how it's set up. In district court, you're more like an island. And so I would say that the team that works with me, from my bailiff, she's a lawyer, to my court report, I have a fully bilingual staff. They are full. And so to me is disagreements and conflict is part of nature. But if you could have a conversation and remember that, hey, you may think the law says one thing but I may think the law says another thing, then sometimes we disagree to disagree. And so you're not gonna see me having a hollering or just fussing at someone, because I don't do that. And second, people are entitled to feel the way they want to. People are entitled to feel the way they want to feel. And so, but even if I happen to be on the justice, I think that's important, because I look at the judges; they're brilliant. There's a lot of brilliant people, and so they may. I know nothing about, or haven't thought that. I would be looking at ways in order to address, where can we come to, this is what you think, this is what I think, and can we come to somewhere in the middle? Can we come to a compromise? If not, it's just like these orders that you guys have seen, you just got to make the call on it. And that's just the truth of what we do. And as a judge, I signed up for that. I agreed to do that. And so that's a great question.
Thank you so much, Judge.
Absolutely.
I have no questions.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Judge, for your almost 30 years of public service on county attorney's office, county court, district court. I have no questions for you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I want to thank you for volunteering and that. Without any specifics, have you sat and thought about anything you've ruled on in the past that might be a challenge for you in the future?
And
I don't need anything specific, but the way things change in society and things are moving so fast, you'll have to look at the future, but you got to look at today. You got to look at the past. And I wonder how you sit there and process the decisions you've made, and will I be challenged on anything?
That's the nature of being a judge, is that how our system is set up. You have winners and you have losers, and someone is going to be unhappy. And I always reflect on my decisions maybe there's something that I'll just leave that. I'll just kind of say that. But I look at all the decisions that I've made. I'm confident in those decisions. Matter of fact, I want to say, knock on wood, I have not been reversed by the Nebraska Supreme Court on any of my decisions as of yet. That could change. Watch, I get a reversal today. But I try to, when I look at, when I handle cases, I understand that these are people. I understand that this is important to them, which is why if I have a case now that it's under advisement, that it took 1.5 years to try because one of the parties had some very strong physical impairment. I have like 180 exhibits. I mean, it's just stacked of exhibits. I'm done reading the exhibits. I've started writing the order, but it's going to be one of those cases in which these are two people who do not like each other at all, but so that's going to be a decision in which I might go on based on what the evidence is. But I signed up for that. I agreed to do that. And I always look at things that I can do better, things that I can improve. And, and that could be as simple as how you talk to people is that, I get people that come in, they're angry. After we get done talking, they're like, that makes sense, Judge. And so, you want people that feel that the courts are for people to get justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. And you want to give people time to have their day. And that's what I strive to do every day, regardless of what the case is, that you're going to get your day in court.
Thank you. And thank you for your work too. So
thank you, sir.
Good morning, Judge Vaughn.
Good morning.
Echoing everyone else, thank you for applying for this position. It's really important. And so I have a lot of respect for both of you for putting your names in. So thank you. Have a few questions for you as well. You went from the county attorney's office to the courtroom. So you've kind of always been a judge in the county court and the district court. So you've always been in trial courtrooms.
Right.
How do you think you will make the transition to an appellate courtroom and having to
since the district court is an immediate court of appeals for the county court, I'm already doing that in terms. And so to me, I'll be what I'm doing that now. I have a case that now that's on a bill in which there's quite a big of a bill of exception. And so this is, since I have some experience doing that, I know that since I'm doing that now, I know that I can make that change. And also too, I like research. I like writings. As I mentioned, that if you look at my opinions, they're research, they're fact-based, they're consistent. And so if on the Supreme Court, if I happen to be on the Supreme Court, I'm going to take the same approach that I'm doing now, is that the lawyers presented their case in the lower courts, or the self-represented litigants, which is an issue that's popping up. We're seeing more self-represented litigants that are coming into our courts. And we're looking at this bill of exception, but there's certain rules, as I talked about, in terms of things from county court, is essentially error on the record. And then, however, if it's questions of law or equity, then you got to come to your own independent conclusion. And so I am confident that I can certainly do that. I'm doing that now, and I just for a little flavor, I have attached 2 orders as part of the packet with the committee.
Okay, so that kind of jumps me into my next question. You were a county court judge, so those judges are your coworkers, your colleagues. How have you handled the dynamic of having to make a ruling based off of a decision that they made in the lower court when there's kind of that relationship? Because you'll have to be doing it now as district court judges. Their opinions will then be coming up to you potentially on the Supreme Court.
I will tell you this, is that most of the people who I associate with are not judges. They tend not to be lawyers. Most of the people associated with are just what I call common folk. And who know me know that I call it like I see it. And so if a case needs to be reversed, but you may look at a set of facts one way and interpret the case one way. I may look at a set of facts a different way and interpret it a different way, but that's just the nature of what we have done. That's just the nature of what we're doing. And so am I upset if for lack of a better word, that I may hurt someone's feelings of an opinion? That's the cost. I mean, that's what you signed up for. That's what I signed up for, is I have to make the call. And that's not something I'm gonna go in there and just, I'm friendly with everybody. And I will write orders in a sense that, this is how you ruled, but this is what the case law says. And I'm the order, but I don't know if you're right. I was a county court judge for almost 10 years, and I see these all the time. I have done different things that is different from the county court ordered, but that is, I did what I felt that first, my oath requires me to do and my interpretation of the facts. And so, and as a district court judge, if they think that I'm wrong or incorrect, their remedy is that they could file an appeal to the Court of Appeals of Nebraska Supreme Court. I understand that. And I've always taken the position if I did something wrong, it needs to be reversed so it's right. And so in my opinion, any good judge understands that if I did something wrong or if I did a ruling wrong, I should be reversed and that it's right. Because at the end of the day, we want people to have faith in our justice system. We want people to have faith that judges are following the law, and as attorneys, you have a responsibility. You're advocates. You're an advocate. Judges, what I used to tell newer, when I first came on the bench, your lenses change. And so my lenses change. And so that wouldn't be a concern for me.
Okay. You spoke about how as a district court, you're kind of on an island because it's your courtroom, you're on your own. If you make it to the Supreme Court, you're no longer on an island. There's a panel of judges making this decision. How do you think, especially being potentially the new guy, you would handle your now new colleagues maybe having an opinion than you or asserting something that you haven't considered? And how will you handle the dynamic of still making the decision based off of what you believe it to be versus, your technically more experienced colleagues on the bench?
To me, it's like going back home to county court. Is that when I started in the county court, you had a lot of judges that had a lot more experience than me. And those are the people who I would ask and they mentored me. When I first came on the county court, I knew nothing about probate. And these same judges a lot of them are retired, they spent a lot of time, but there's a lot of lawyers that worked in probate that they're outstanding. They made great arguments and they knew what they were talking about. I just had that much respect for them. And so again, right, is that it would be more of we all work together, but at the same time, I've not been to any consultations, and so I don't know what occurs back during these conversations, and so I don't have any firsthand knowledge of that process. But knowing me is you listen, you present, you do your research. Whatever cases that I may be assigned to, I'm going to know them frontwards, sideways, backwards, everything else. Like I use de novo, the Latin word. I mean, I'm going to know them. And so, but people are entitled to feel the way that they feel, which is why sometimes you get dissenting opinions or concurrent opinions. And so you have to be prepared to, yes, I may be the new person on the bench, but at the same time, you take an oath. You have a responsibility to follow your oath. And if you think that, for example, the lower court was right and the other judges think that the lower court was wrong, then there may be a dissenting opinion. And so I think at the end, if you have that respect for each other, I have a lot of respect for Justice Stacey. And so, because we did a lot of things on the Access to Justice Commission, she's fabulous, and not make you blush, but there's a lot of justice that I respect that I think they do an amazing job, and so I'm going to do a lot of learning if I happen to get on there and do my own research, and so we'll have to see.
Okay, thank you. Last question. Public service is very important to me. I'm glad to hear you talk about the service that you currently participate serving on the commission. I was gonna ask you what the date of the next fish fry was, but I'm not over 60, so.
We may be able to make an exception for you, but I make an exception for anyone on the committee because we do. And what we do for the fish fry is that we serve the people. And so most people who serve the people are under 60.
Okay.
So they're more youthful. And so the people that are there, because sometimes for the servers, I will go out and buy 10 pounds of shrimp. So we're frying shrimp in the back and we're doing a whole bunch of fun things. And so I get fish fry, it's free. Pounds of 50 pounds of catfish. We cut it up. And my uncle, American Royale down in Kansas City and things like that. He's our chef. And I got some other people that are retired and come in and they cook. And so if you leave our place and that's for the Wild Game Feast hungry, then that's on you. Because we're just throwing food at you and we have a lot of desserts too.
Okay, well, if Mr. Miltonberger doesn't get me a ticket, I will gladly help.
Yeah. And and you don't need a ticket, you just show up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good morning, Judge Vaughn.
Good morning.
I do qualify for a ticket, by the way.
All right, we'll see you.
Just make that clear. I'm gonna, as far as my colleagues here, and I'm gonna say, I said the same thing to Mr. Guinan. Thank you for your service. I think that the rule of law is so critical for our democracy and so critical for our nation that I thank you for being in public service, the Supreme Court. Case with you here in Douglas County, but I've had a lot of them. And one of the questions, that it was kind of the flip side of what I asked Mr. Guinan. You have spent 100% of your legal career working for the people, working for the government. I have spent 100% of my legal career working for people who pay us a lot of money. And I know that you, as an adversary, and we're in an adversary system, I don't win every case. But do you feel just being your experience and not ever having represented an individual or a family or a corporation who's paying money to get justice, do you think that's going to be any headwind for you just coming from the county attorney's office and being a county court judge and a district court judge? Do you think that that's going to be, do you see that as being an issue for you going on the Supreme Court?
Absolutely not. When I was in the Douglas County Attorney's Office, even though you were correct, I was on the civil division, so I represented a lot of correctional officers when they were being sued in federal court for 42 USC 1983 actions. I think I wrote so many briefs, orders. The first trial I was supposed to have in federal court, my daughter was being born. And so even though they were paid normally by their unions or things like that, I represented them. I brought them in, I had to do discovery, bring them in. We would get these requests for admissions that come in. And so in a sense, and I was involved in that for 4 years. And so, and also too, prison litigation. They're suing the warden, the director, they're suing officers. Again, I was part of my responsibility. I represented them. And primarily those were in federal court. And so sometimes we may get them in state court, but again, it's, you get to know them as a person. You get to know, particularly when we get interrogatories and things like that, requests for production of documents, you find out a lot. And oftentimes these people will come in after hours and we just sit there and talk, because being sued it's a very stressful event for the person being sued. And so I've represented them within the county attorney side of things. You're correct in terms of the district court and things like that. We don't have clients. But another thing too, when I was involved with the drug court program, back in those days, we didn't have PDs that came in to our drug courts. And so I remember when I was one of the county attorney then it would have been Don Klein. He was working out, and a person that was in drug court came to me and was like, he talks to me more than my lawyer. He's giving me motivation. He's giving me encouragement. He's telling me don't give up. And so I wasn't their client, but in the drug court program, the goal is to help others themselves. And so during those times when I was the prosecutor in that program, I was encouraged. It's really easy for me to recommend you go to prison. It's really easy for me to recommend you to go to jail or get probation. but it's that revolving door that we're all trying to stop. And so I have not personally represented as in a private firm against anybody. I was in a firm in San Francisco for one summer, and I represented. I was a law student, so I worked with one of the partners of that firm. We represented some unions out in San Francisco, but no, I haven't not had individual clients like you have.
Well, and some of your comments about the medical malpractice work, and when you get down in Lincoln, you're going to be dealing with, Daubert and Schaefersman's challenges and very complex civil evidentiary issues as a justice on the Nebraska Supreme Court. And I take it you're confident you're going to be able to.
I've written orders regarding those. And as I mentioned before, people who do those types of cases, they're brilliant. They know law. It's a real specific area. And when I had one of the last trials I had was a medical malpractice trial, I actually enjoyed it in the terms of listening from the doctors. It was smooth. It was on point. And after I got done with the trial, I went and had an appointment with my doctor asking, what's up? Why aren't you doing this for me? And so, but I really enjoyed that. So.
Well, I do that kind of work. Not everybody calls me brilliant, Your Honor. Thank you. Just a couple other questions for you. You have impressed me as a man of faith.
I am.
And come from a family of faith. The difference between being on the district court judge and when you're going to take somebody's liberty away for life, or
which I have,
heaven forbid, to death, you're now going to be, at the district court, it's moving on.
Right.
But now you're it.
Mhm.
Are you prepared then to be able to make those really decisions at the Nebraska Supreme Court, that the citizens of this great state, are you going to be able to make those kind of capital murder decisions? Do you see any issue with those types of decisions?
None. I already had a first degree murder trial that ended up being a life in prison, and it's on appeal now. But that won't be an issue for me.
The other thing I see is again, you have I love your 98% rating, and that means that you're treating all the litigants and the attorneys with a high degree of respect. Here in Douglas County, you have the litany of attorneys coming in and out of your chambers and people that you know. The question I've always had, and I see it with Justice Stacey, it's a lonely life to be a justice. Because I know that Judge Grant was a very good friend of my father when he came from the district court here and went to the Supreme Court in Lincoln. That litany of people that move in and out of your office, you're kind of isolated back there. And you're not going to political fundraisers, and I know you have other rules as a judge, but now that you're on the Supreme Court, are you ready for that life?
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, most of the people who are part, at least in my inner circle, the non-lawyers, they're people that I went to high school with, the people I went to college with. And so it won't be a concern for me in a sense. I have a lot of family here. And if I feel that lonely, even though my wife doesn't like me going down, we'll go down to Arkansas. We got a rural farm down there. It's rural. And if I need to see a whole bunch of Vaughns that look like me, I'll just go down and see some of my people. And so, but it's true that it is even as a district judge, it is, and a county court judge, it could be lonely.
And the reason I asked, I've had two partners. One became an Article III judge in the federal court, and another a United States magistrate judge. And you can't even get up there to see them. And so I know that is also a big commitment as part of your public service. So thank you for your answers. I have no further questions for Judge Vaughn, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good morning, Judge Vaughn. It's nice to see you.
Great to see you.
I have one question I've just kind of been thinking about. As the Supreme Court is sort of the court of last resort in terms of Nebraska statutes and that sort of thing, what would be your process if the court was being asked to overturn a statute that you maybe didn't agree with personally? What would be your process of determining? I'm not asking you how you would decide any particular thing, but what would be the process of you analyzing whether or not it would be appropriate to overturn a statute?
Well, there are rules of construction in reference to statutory rules of construction. I actually wrote an order regarding that, so I won't say too much more about that, but I would follow the rules. I would follow the already established rules of construction. And then based on the facts, then I'll issue an order. I know I'm kind of being a little bit more vague, as I've been asked to do that on a number of occasions, and I believe I have a case that's pending now. And so I don't want to say too much, other than I will tell you that the orders that you guys have as part of your packet gives you a flavor as to how I analyze cases. And so I would certainly follow the facts, the law, then I would issue an opinion. However, in the Supreme Court, there's and have a discussion about that. That would a good idea about my process are the orders that you already have.
And I guess it's more in the line of not just the construction of the statute itself, but if you were being asked, what would your process be?
And I don't want to be, I know,
Fair enough.
and so the best way for me to answer that, because if that's on my case though now, I would have to recuse. And so what I would that has been laid out, I will follow I would make a decision based on the facts. But this is live stream, this is hearing. I don't want to say this is exactly how. And so I've written a number of orders on. In fact, I think I may even have it here, so it's a public record as to the orders that I have done. That I have, I had a case in the county court which I wrote an order on, and so there is a process that I follow, and I would follow that.
And that's fair enough. I thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Good morning, Judge Vaughn.
Good
I
morning.
think morning. Just barely.
Yeah, still morning. Morning someplace.
Appreciate you being here and putting yourself up for this opportunity and for your public service, even dating this application. I have a question for you, and not necessarily in reference to your time on the bench, because that might not be appropriate to answer this question, but can you tell us about a time when you've been wrong during your legal career? How did you find out you were wrong? And how did that affect how you did your work going forward?
I had a case when I was in county court that was appealed to the district court. I won't go into any great detail, but the district judge reversed that decision. And when I read the judge's opinion, he was right. Absolutely right. And I wrote a long opinion on it as to why I think it's important for litigants. One was a self-represented litigant, one was a lawyer. I think it's important for litigants to write. I think it's important to write written orders so people can see this is how you came up with your decision. And so I wrote a long order on it. It got appealed. And one area where the district judge reversed on was they were completely right. Completely right. And so did it affect me? No, he was right. And we set it back for hearing, entered the mandate, and ended up settling the case. And so that is just part of what we do. And that was the only time from the district court that I was ever reversed. And so that was the time that I can remember, because when I read the opinion, I thought I was right. I said I had the case law, everything was there. But there was one little segment of the statute that I didn't quite tweak it right based on the facts. Absolutely right. And so, you take those types of things as a learning lesson. You learn. I learned from them. And so when I had other cases similar like that, I already knew I had a different way how I handled them. And so to me, it was educational. I learned a lot. And the judge, to this day, I respect this judge. They were 100% right. And so did it impact me? No, because I want to get it right, because these are litigants. These are people who want judges to be right. And again, so when I entered the mandate, it didn't come back. I thought the other side was going to reverse. It was going to appeal it up to the Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court, and then they worked out a settlement. And so it ended up going away, but it was certainly an experience that I appreciated that it happened.
Thank you. I have one other question. It's a little more fun, I think. I noticed on your resume, one of your volunteer experience for a day. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I was principal for a day at Spring Lake Elementary School in Omaha Public Schools. And so basically this was through a organization. This is while I was in the county attorney's office. This was through a organization. I can't remember who the person who was involved with that now, but I went to Spring Lake because my mother was still a teacher then. And so this was years ago. She was about to retire, and they happened to put me at Spring Lake. And basically I came in and the principal, this is what we're going to do today. And so we went to meetings. When there was anything, any confidential, any of those types of things, that I stepped out the room. But I learned quite a bit of what goes on in our local elementary. Teachers, hardworking administrators that want to do for kids. Spring Lake is in South Omaha, and so there's a lot of people whose first language is not English, and so I learned some Spanish that day, and food wasn't too bad, and so it was an enjoyable experience, and they stopped doing that, and I think it would be good if they start doing that again, so people can see what's going on in our schools.
Thank you.
Hey, Judge Scott Carlson here. So first of all, these questions have been fabulous. I appreciate the attorneys that are asking some more technical things about procedures and things that are in front of you should you get this appointment. So it's a privilege to serve on this, and Justice Stacey, thank you. It's a get to know you to some degree. So I have a couple of just random questions that have come up since you've been speaking up there. So did you grow up in Arkansas? You went to Creighton Prep, but did
Mother grew up in Southern Missouri. During the Depression. And so my dad was in federal enforcement, and he's one of the first African-American as a special agent with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service 60s. And so during that time, during the 60s, he was hired down south. He had to go to Minnesota first. He went to the Minneapolis Police Academy, and I have a picture of him in 1960. My parents got married in 67, and my dad had his game, they called him game manager. My retiring here, my dad was ultimately appointed as U.S. Marshal. And so here and it's probably some of the older attorneys. Vaughn. He was the U.S. Marshal here for the state of Nebraska. And so growing up here, because I moved here when I was 5 and went to school at Harvey Sutton Miller Public Schools. I went to Miller North Junior High, enjoyed that. And then 2 sisters who went to Miller North, but my parents wanted them to go to Marion. And the question that came out of their mouths are there boys at Marion? They went to Miller North. And so they asked me the same question, do you want to go to Creighton Prep? I go, absolutely. And so that's how I got to Creighton Prep. And I met a lot of wonderful. Because then from here, I just stayed in Nebraska. Went to college here, and then after I graduated from law school, back to Omaha.
Great. No, appreciate interesting track to get to prep when you go up in the public school system. So appreciate that. I also noticed that you were an adjunct at Midland.
You know, I enjoyed that. For a number of years where I pretty much taught the same classes, criminal procedure, and we switched every quarter. I love the energy of the young people. And as we're talking now, that's how I did classes for the lawyers here. I used the Socratic method. So I started asking questions, and I learned not only do learning is a lifelong, and my kids were getting older then. I've been on the bench for a number and more time with some other activities. And so I thoroughly enjoyed being about Midland. It was a great drive watching, I live in I live in the county, 36 for those who live out there. So sometimes I could be a little dicey to make sure I don't wreck my car. But I really enjoyed teaching. I really enjoyed being with a lot of our future, I always called them future leaders.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that that description. So finally, firm, fair, consistent were the words. And you also describe return and when you're wrong. How about it had all of those hundreds and for the final say? What happens when you go home and you think, you know what, maybe I was wrong internally? Because you always learn more from your losses than your wins. And I'm just curious, in a judge's mind, how do you reconcile that?
I think, in my opinion, and I believe Justice Scalia used this coin, a great judge is someone who goes home at night and they're worried or they're concerned about the decisions that they made because they understand it impacts people. And so I try to keep work things at work, but there's many nights that I'm up and I'm concerned about, did I do this right? Did I talk to him the right way? Could I have done it different? Could I have done it better? And so to me, I've always have done that. And that is something that I take those the next time. And yeah, I mean, I still think about cases even now. I'm thinking about had with Miss Frank probably in this courtroom, and in that one, I was up at night because it was, I mean, when you got two outstanding attorneys, they're making two outstanding arguments. That's what makes a job as a judge tough, as you got to make a decision based on the facts and based on the law. And I just use Ms. Franks, not to call her out, just as an example, but there's hundreds of cases in which I can point to and was like, maybe I could have said this better. Maybe I wasn't really clear. Could have did this different. And so that is a self-reflection for me.
Well, thank you for those comments, and I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Morning, Judge.
Good morning. Yeah. Or good afternoon.
Yeah.
Hey, you're right. I stand corrected. I've been reversed. Good morning. It's been a real honor to get to know you a little bit through what is a really great application that we all got to see online, a tremendous resume, phenomenal quality of experience and service to our community. And I just want to say thanks for that. And thanks for your willingness to continue serving the people in Nebraska. This has just really been impressive. And I think, like my colleagues here, I've learned a lot through this process. I want to end our questions, at least I don't know if it's the end of the questions, but at least maybe the last question from us where we started the day. And I'm going to try to do a better job of putting the question in context. When I look at what's going on at our national institutions of governance right now with the three branches. I'm watching that system get tested. And as a citizen, it's interesting to watch, and at some point you get concerned. And when you look at the history, we're going to wait and see if this experiment works or not, right? I think it's important for the people of Nebraska in our system of government, our institutions of government, to understand your thoughts and your perspectives, the role the Supreme Court plays in our institution of governance as a check and a balance, along with the policymakers in the legislative branch, the policy administrators in the executive branch, and what I'll just refer to as maybe the policy adjudicators with the Supreme. Important role that exists there as an independent judiciary. It's important to defend the Constitution of Nebraska and our nation, and yet still serve as one of those institutions of governance for us. I would just appreciate your thoughts on that role. I know in a room full of attorneys and in your background and in the courtroom and stuff, I think that's just a little bit. That's one thing that distinguishes the Supreme Court, and I think it's good for our public. Your thought.
Well, there are three separate equal branches of government. Nebraska Constitution, Nebraska Supreme Court is under Article 5 of the Nebraska Constitution. And so with being three separate branches of government, and maybe I'll towards me, local news on sports, by what others may think should happen. I think for courts, and I'm referring more towards me. Some of the questions here talk about, it's lonely being a judge. It's, you don't friends you used to talk to. Well, most of my friends work every day, who vote in the elections, who love this country, and they are independent, self-assured, respectful. They don't have it with me. And so with that being said, I think it's important for people to recognize that as a separate branch of government, there may be decisions sometimes, as a question was asked that Ms. Frank asked about, we may have to find that a statute is unconstitutional. However, in Nebraska, we're not elected. We are appointed, and then we are retained. And so if you look in some, and I had a person, I went to the judicial college, and he was telling me about all came out. Well, are you truly independent in the sense that the same lawyer is bankrolling your and so I think how we do it in Nebraska with the merit plan, with you guys being the local committee and it going to the governor, and we stand for and I think that is the best way for judges. And again, I think we as judges have to be mindful that there's always, the world's, even when I started in 99, I was using a criminal example, criminal mischief in 99, and Mr. Martin may remember this, anything over $300 was a felony. And so if you break a window out, that was a felony when I first started in a county attorney's office. Or you get someone that gets mad or someone goes through a window. And they've changed that and increased the value. Reason being, I don't know. That was part of the legislative branch, and they made a determination that needed to change. As judges, we take an oath to follow the Constitution of the state of Nebraska, U.S. Constitution, and follow the laws. And we also, and before, we do not let personal beliefs or opinions influence our decisions. And so I'll speak for me. I know I haven't done that. But I would take what I do to the Nebraska Supreme Court if I happen to get there. But I appreciate your question, and I think that's a very valid question. I thank you for asking it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the gallery who wishes to speak with respect to this applicant? Your wife was quiet.
Oh, I didn't get up.
All right, hearing none. With that, we will conclude the public portion. I will direct that the live stream be terminated. I want to thank you for your help on that today. Thank you.